Hey guys, hope you're having a great day. This video is going to be all about how to find more time in your day. So is there some magic trick and some button we can, flip and then we automatically have more hours in a day? I wish there was, because I would do that every single day just to get things done. Unfortunately, it's not. So we have to figure out how to put more hours in our day. And how do we do that? We all get the same 24 hours a day in a day. Everybody across the world gets the same 24 hours. And so what we choose to do with that time is up to us to be able to accomplish everything that we need to do. Now, I know for you mamas, you're probably at home alone. Probably most of the work has been on your shoulders to get done in the home, and sometimes it just does not seem fair, and I'm right there with you. I was right there with you. I know that I didn't have any family members or any friends that would come over and help me with my babies or to do just anything. It was just me. My husband worked hours. It was like 65 to 75 hours a week for him working, plus a 2-hour drive every day to work. He was very exhausted when he came home, and so there was not a lot of help from his end, and so it was everything rested on the home front on my shoulders. And so I just had my chance to either sink or I had my chance to swim. And so I chose that, I just need to do this, because if I don't do these things, they're not going to get done. So how did I do that? I put a little plan into action. So how did I get more hours in my day? I would sit there and I would think, because I had a lot of time to nurse a baby or a lot of time to hold a baby, and I didn't have all my plans and all my schedules and all my managing things figured out like I do now, but back then that was like my planning time. That was my time to think about what it is that really bothered me in my life that I needed to change. Part of the things was how I manage out my time, how I get everything accomplished. And so that's why I did this series, the How Do You Do It, the Managing the Large Household series, what I do each day. And that helped hugely, because I was able to sit down and know what my goal was for the day. And then I had to figure out what else was stressful. Was cleaning, because there was always something to clean. There's still always something to clean. And so I had to figure out, how am I going to get my cleaning schedule under control? And I had to do that. Another big thing is food. And so I had to figure out, how am I going to figure out how to make meals each month and make it all work and do all that. So I had to think about those things and put some kind of plan into play and then execute that plan. So that's what I did. I did a lot of thinking back in those days. So all you young mamas out there, when you're sitting there with those babies and you feel like you have all this extra time, because you probably have a lot more time than you think you do, those are the times of planning. I think of like a CEO of a company. I think, just because you're at home and you're taking care of the home, you're taking care of babies, or maybe you're working too, but in any job in life, if it is going to be a successful business, a successful position, most of the time you have a manager, and they are looking to see what they can improve upon in that job. Now, I know big successful corporations, they'll hire people to come in and just watch and evaluate. I know my husband works in the auto industry, and he did, they would bring people in, and they would just consultants, and they would just watch. They would watch what they do day to day, the workers, and how they executed your plans out. And then they would go sit back, and then they would, pay them thousands of dollars to do this, and they would go back and give them this report of things that they could improve upon in their business to make it more efficient. So I like to think of like, that's a really good idea for a mom. I wish that would be a fun job to do. I don't know if anybody would hire me or not, but that would be a fun job to be able to look at and just go, okay, what is it you're wasting your time on? What is it you can improve upon? Let's make a plan and let's fix it. So that would be like a mommy consultant. I don't even know if they have those sort of jobs, but that would be a really cool job, I think. So that's basically what you're doing. You are gonna sit there and evaluate your life, and you're going to figure out where you're going to be able to find more time in your day. So what I did back in the day is I made a list. I made a list of things that I wanted to improve upon in my walk as a mother and my motherhood. And one of the things I wanted to improve upon is I wanted to lose weight. I was tired of carrying all the extra weight from having babies. And so I finally wanted to do something about it. So that was on my list. Another thing on my list was having more time for my devotions and time for reading the Bible, because it was hard to get up early in the morning because I was just plain exhausted. So I wanted more time for that. Another thing I wanted to do was to set up some sort of schedule so that I can kind of figure out my day, because I just was going from thing to thing, and I just thought, oh, I got to do this, so I would do that. Oh, that needs to be clean, do that. Oh, I only got 5 minutes, let me go do that. And I wasn't really having anything scheduled, and it wasn't a super strict schedule, but I just wanted some sort of plan for what I needed to do each day. Another thing I wanted to do is when I wanted to read to my little ones. I remember going for a very long time and never reading books to my kids. I know that sounds awful, but it was just hard to do it. And by the time I thought about it, I was exhausted. So I wanted time to read to my little ones. Another thing I wanted to do is I had a little bit of older girls, and I wanted time to make crafts with them. We were working on doing different crafts for the home, working on some sewing projects. And so that was something I wanted to do. And then I also wanted to start organizing my home better because I had a lot of clutter and I wanted to fix those things. So then I looked at my list and I thought, in reality, what it really boiled down to was time. I needed more time in my day, but I couldn't get that. So I had to figure out how to make some sort of schedule so that I could make the things that I wanted to do get done. So then the way I started first is I started scheduling. I know you can look up people that do scheduling and planning it out, and that's a great thing. I don't recommend being so strict on it because it gets so overwhelming. But what I did is I took a piece of paper and I wrote out different time slots, half-hour time slots for the day. So I wrote out the time that I would wake up, like 7 o'clock. And then I would have a spot for 7:30, 8 o'clock, 8:30, 9 o'clock, 9:30, and so on, all the way until I went to bed at night. And so I had that whole list sitting in front of me. And then what I started doing is I started filling in that schedule with the things that I had to accomplish in the day. And that was getting up, getting ready, getting the children ready, making and cleaning up breakfast, doing school, doing dinner prep, doing my daily chores for the day, things like that. So when I started filling that chart in, I realized there was a whole lot of empty slots in my day. And so I thought, okay. So then I started filling in the time slots with the things that I wanted to do in my day. And one of those things was that I wanted to get reading in. And so after lunchtime, we had about a half hour before nap time. And I thought, boom, right there, perfect time to get some book reading in with my little ones. So I scheduled in from 12 to 12 or 12:30 to 1 o'clock to get some reading time in with my kids. And so I put that on my little schedule. And then every day, that's what I was able to do with them. And then I know that at nighttime at 8 o'clock, they would all watch a video, and the little baby, I had a little baby at the time, different times, but they would take a little nap in the swing. So for a half hour, I had a break where I could get some exercise in time in here. Otherwise, I would just sit there with the kids and I'd lay there and watch a video with them, which I've already seen all the Barneys and everything over and over again. So I didn't need to watch the movie again. So I scheduled at 8 o'clock at night to 8:30 my exercise time. And it might not be ideal time, but that was a great time for me. I knew I could do it. So I scheduled that on my schedule. Then I also took my nap time. The kids would take a nap, and there was times that I needed a nap because I was up so much, and there was times that I didn't. So at this time that I started doing this, I started focusing when everybody took a nap, that I would do my devotion time, and that's when I did that. And then right before the little ones woke up, I scheduled a half hour of craft time in with my girls, and it was a great time because there was no little kids to make a mess. It was a half hour. It may not sound like a whole lot to some people, but a half hour was at least some time that we were able to focus on doing something. And then the babies would wake up, so boom, we had to end our craft time. But we said, okay, tomorrow we're gonna be doing it, so then we'll be able to continue it. So it was something we look forward to each day. So that's what we did. I set my schedule all up for different activities. I'm like, okay, I can do this. There was a couple empty slots. Back then, they don't have the ease of looking on your phone at things. There wasn't so much social media, things like that. So I didn't have to worry about checking my phone, because that could be a huge time waster. It can be a huge time waster to go check your emails and check all your things. I know I check my things on YouTube. It can take up a lot of your time. So you have to schedule that and be persistent about not going against that. So I know for myself, I'll schedule times in my day just to check my email, and then I'll do that, get it finished, get that taken care of. And if it goes past that time, I don't do it anymore. I just wait till the next day and I'll get it done. So scheduling it out helps hugely. And then I took my little list, I had a notebook paper, and I set it out for the next day, and I started trying to implement my list. Then I realized when I started doing my list that some of the things were off a little bit, where, I thought that maybe I could get this craft time in at this time, but it wasn't working, so I had to move it a little bit. So I took my little pencil and I changed that on my draft of my schedule. And I tried to work it out, and I wrote, okay, that's not gonna work, or this is gonna work. And I tried to just figure it out. It took me a couple days to figure out, to see if it was actually gonna be something that I could implement and do. One big thing that we did when we had little ones, I don't do it so much now, but we do have some quiet times here, but not like we did back in the day. Our house always shut down from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock. Shut down is what I mean is that I needed that quiet time in our home so that we could all have a rest, because everybody was up early and they were up late, and it was a long day with little ones. So every day at nap time, even if you were an older child, I still required quiet time. And so what I did, a lot of my kids share rooms, but at nap time, they were all in separate areas taking a nap, because I would put two, little toddlers or a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old in a room, and they would just play and they would never take a nap. And it'd be so frustrating. So every day at 1 o'clock, everybody laid down for a nap, whether they laid down or they read a book or they were just playing a game in the room quietly or whatever they were doing, but it was still, everybody was required to take that quiet time. The older ones had little clocks in their room, so they were able to look at the clock and know that they are not going to come out and come get me, because I would always have kids come to me and say, is nap time done? Is nap time done? That would drive me crazy. And so sometimes I needed a nap, and I knew that I'd set my alarm on my phone and wake up after a half hour and get my nap in. But if I didn't, I was able to get a few things done, but no kids were allowed to be out. That was just nap time. And so that was something huge and a big sanity saver for me, because I needed that quiet time in the house, because I was with kids from 7 o'clock in the morning until 9 o'clock at night. And that's a 14-hour day, right? That 14-hour day, and that's a long day with little kids. So mamas, if you don't have time, schedule a nap quiet time in your home. And everybody's quiet. Everybody has to have some kind of quiet activity to do. And then something else I noticed is that when you have children sleeping, some days they're more tired than other days. But what I found is if those children slept past that 3 o'clock mark, there would be no way that they would go to bed on time at nighttime. So even though it is so tempting to let a toddler sleep, because trust me, it is, especially when they're very, very busy, wake them up. Wake up the toddler in the preschool, because otherwise at nighttime they are never going to go to bed on time, and you're going to be even more tired, you're going to be even more exhausted, and then come the morning time they're going to probably sleep in a little bit, and it's just going to throw you off. So at nap time, wake them up. I know it's sometimes hard because you might get going on something and you want to keep finishing it, but wake those toddlers up so that they can go to bed at a normal time. So my girls and I would do our craft time at like 2:30 each day till 3. So we would get out all the things. We might do melty beads, or we might do whatever kind of activities that we were working on at the time, and we'd get them out. We had them in a designated area, and then we'd get them all out, and then we'd work at them together and have a fun girl time doing that. And then they knew that at 3 o'clock, oh, the babies are going to be getting up, so we're going to end our project. Even though a half hour doesn't seem like a whole lot of time, it was still a time that I was able to sit down with the girls and spend some quality one-on-one time with them doing something fun. And so I said, okay, even though we're not finished, let's set it aside, and then tomorrow we'll come back and do this again. And so 2:30, 3 o'clock, that was one time that we looked forward to spending our time together. And sometimes I was really tired because I might have been up all night with a baby and needed more sleep, but I still tried to take that time with the girls, just because to build some memories and grow those heart issues and things with them. So whatever's important to you, if it's important for you to do that, make sure you schedule that in and set it aside to do that in your day. And after I got my schedule tweaked out and kind of figured out for the day, and pretty much, I wasn't so rigid on things, but just somewhat I knew what was expected after breakfast. I knew what was expected after lunch, things like that. Then I started working on my children's, and I started doing the ones, some of them were toddlers. I thought of I wanted them to be able to do Play-Doh and time to play with certain games or certain toys, because instead of just letting kids play with everything all the time, they'll just leave toys behind and it'll just be one big mess. But we scheduled out different activities, and so we had their little bucket of toys in their room, things that they were able to pick up and do. But the bigger, messier things, we had Mr. Potato Head, we had Play-Doh, we had blocks, we had Legos, we had color forms, we had little magnet toys, different things that we had those set in a separate area where nobody got to them. And then during a set time each day, so we did little containers of things. And so at certain times each day, especially when I was doing school, I said, okay, at 10 o'clock, that is our bucket play, our table play time, whatever we called it. I remember, it's been a long time. So then each little toddler or preschooler was able to choose, and they would ask me, I want to play Play-Doh, or I want to do magnets, and I would have them in those plastic shoe bins. And so I would go get the containers out and I would hand it to them, and then they would take them, and then they were able to go play with them during that time. And okay, you're gonna have a half hour, and then when that half hour is up and I was finished with that child's school, okay, this time's done, we're gonna go put those back. So we cleaned up, put it away, and then we would do something else. And so that was very helpful, almost like you would do in school or preschool, things like that. But that helped hugely with little ones, because otherwise, if there's Legos everywhere all the time and there's blocks everywhere, Mr. Potato Head, they just get in a mess, or they don't play with them. But if they're put away, and then, oh, it's Mr. Potato Head time, let's play with that. Or, we played blocks awful lot, blocks and Legos, and that was their favorite thing. So we'd get the big container out, and we'd dump them on the floor, and we build towers or whatever they would do for a half hour. And that was a fun way to break up our day. So that's another way you can do with your kids. And then we also scheduled in time for helping mom with making food. And so I had a lot of younger ones, so I would take days. So every Monday I would have, Jaden help me making stuff. Every Tuesday I would have had Ashlyn helping with things, or Wednesday was Lauren, and Thursday. So then they were the kitchen helper for the day, and so then they helped me, get the meals prepared or get things out that we had to do. And so that was a way to incorporate some more one-on-one time with my kids in the home, just spending more time, things like that. especially when this was helpful for like my older ones age kids, because I made out their schedule for them, and it didn't have to be super rigid, but if I didn't have something for them to do, they would just kind of find things for themselves to do, and that would more than likely turn into TV or video games or doing things that weren't so productive. And I allowed time for those fun times, but I also said, okay, this is your half hour. So during this time, I want you to write a letter to somebody or practice working on your writing or do something like that. But I had to specifically schedule it for them. Otherwise, they would never do it. I had a daughter that wanted to learn how to do calligraphy. And so it was one of those things that you have it, you can do it, but she never really did it. So I said, you know what, half hour at this time each day, this is your crafts, time. And so she would sit down and she'd work on her calligraphy writing, or she would work on her sewing during that time. She had a choice to do, whatever she wanted to do. And then also, another thing I would do is I'd help build bonds within the family. And so what I would do is I'd schedule playtimes. This was really helpful when I had little ones, because I wasn't able to do everything. And so I would have an older child spend some time with a younger child. And so I might have maybe the older daughter, she might spend some one-on-one time with the two little girls, and then she'd take them and she could go do a quiet activity like Play-Doh or something fun like that. And so that was something we scheduled to do, and that was great. Another one was my son take out the two little boys to go play outside, because that was something I couldn't ever get outside, and I didn't go outside for an awful lot when I had little ones. And so I would schedule for him to take them out and just go play and run around outside for a little bit, or ride their bike or whatever, just to get some playtime out. And so it allowed the older one to spend some time learning how to manage a younger child or younger sibling, and teach them how to, interact with them, play games with them, and learn to, make things flow and be happy. And so that one, it was also a special time for my younger ones to spend time with their older brothers and sister. And if you ask my younger ones, they would say, do you remember that time when we would spend time with Evan, or we got to spend time with Lauren? And so they do remember those moments, and that was like their favorite thing. My older daughter would read a lot, and so she's like, I remember when that was my reading time with Ashlyn. And so just fun things. They create good memories in them, and the kids look forward to them when they do that. And it's good for the older ones to see how to manage out their days as well, because otherwise they could get stuck in doing absolutely nothing all day long. So having a schedule does help. I'm not very rigid on it, but we do have a set routine and schedule for things that we do. So, and then our evenings, we made sure we had everything done before Dad came home for dinner, so that dinner was clean up, and then we were free for the night. And so what we did, that allowed us to spend time with Daddy. If we wanted to go outside or go play or go for a walk, we were able to do that, because we weren't racing around getting things done during the day. And then if he was working late and not being home, then it also allowed the kids to have some more free time at night. So it worked both ways. It was either, this is our free time at night, you can go do what you want, or we're going to go spend together some time as a family. So having that schedule and implementing, it doesn't have to be exact, doesn't have to be so precise. Have some, room to have things happen or things come up, because that does happen a lot. But if you sit down and make a list of the things that you want to improve upon and put those in your day, make sure you schedule the time out in your day to do those. You'll be able to find that you have a lot more time in the day than you originally thought. Having schedules for my children, not being super strict, but at least having a generalized idea of what they need to accomplish for the day, helps so that they weren't arguing and fighting among each other. I realized that when they didn't have things to do, they would just start grumbling with each other. And so it just led to frustration. It led to me having to yell at them, to tell them not yelling at them. This led to me having to tell them to stop fighting or having to deal with that. But if they knew that they had to do this at a certain time and this at a certain time, it kept them moving and going throughout their day. So then by the time nighttime came along, they look forward to their free time during the day. They realize that, oh, my free time doesn't start until after dinner, so I better get all my work done, or I'm not going to have that free time later on. So having that schedule especially for those ones, school-age children in the middle-age school and the older ones, that helps hugely, I think, in a home to help it run smoothly. So, because they know what's expected, they know what's going to happen. There's no like, are you doing that? Are you doing that? You're constantly yelling. They know what they have to do during the day, and if they don't accomplish it, then they're going to have to make up their stuff at the end of the day. So, okay, so I hope that you take maybe some of these tips and put them and implement them in your own life, and maybe figure out a little schedule that's going to work well for your home and for your family. So, I hope you enjoyed this, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Okay, bye-bye.